We've all made our lists of first. And a list of first is it's a fun list to make, right? Like first time I went on a date, or first time I kissed somebody, first time I got an A, first time I got a trophy, first time I drove a car, all these things are the first time. Those are exciting lists to make, and they're fun lists to make. But if you get injured and your life changes really quick, you go through some kind of trauma, you get to make a different type of list. And it's the list of lasts. When I figured out this near-death experience, I consider it to be the greatest message I have worth sharing. In that moment, I thought about my wife, Tina, and she was 4 months pregnant with our first child. I thought about how I was never going to hold her again, kiss her, take her on a date, have dinner with her. And I was never going to know if I had a boy or girl, what color their hair was going to be or their eyes, what their name was going to be. I'd never throw ball, play catch, teach them sports, walk them down an aisle, take them to school. I was going to miss everything. What I learned in this moment is those were my last thoughts on this world. And if they're my last thoughts, I'd like to consider them to be probably my most important thoughts. Now, we all get caught up in our day, right? You get these, what I call stresses. Well, everyone calls them stresses, right? You got these commitments you have to do, or work things that need to get done, and you never quite seem to get all your work stuff cleared away, do you? You always seem like there's a pile that you leave for the next day, or you take it home with you, right? And then you have commitments with friends and with work and business, and you name it, you got all these things that you need to do that you chase around. And if you have kids, at the end of the day, your day after work doesn't stop. You start chasing after your kids. And then you got to pay your bills, and you have all these income problems, and all these things that just push onto you and drive your day, and we call them stresses. When I was in this near-death experience, all I could think about was my wife and my unborn child. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about that job. I didn't care if it ever got done. I didn't care about paying my bills. I didn't care about planning my friend's bachelor party that night. I didn't care if he ever got married. I didn't care about nothing other than my wife and my unborn child.
Interesting. It makes a lot of sense. But when you think about what truly matters in life, and you just question, and you think about money, and you think about all these little things, and then you get caught up, like you're saying, in your whole day to day. But then what does really matter is what comes to you in those final moments. Super powerful. Yeah.
So I measure knowing now what my most important thoughts are. I measure the success of every day. And when I came in here, everybody's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, it's a great day. Every day's a great day. And the reason is I measure the success of every day like this. If at the end of the day, my family is happy, healthy, and safe, I had a real good day. I no longer let those stresses impact the outcome of my day. In fact, I've reclassified them. I call them distractions, because that's exactly what they are. Those stresses, what they do is they take your mind, your eye off of what's truly important, and they have you look over here. And while you're looking over here and you're trying to accomplish all these things, and they actually impact your life and how you affect the people over here. And then sometimes we don't treat the people we love the best because of these stresses that are in our life. And I just want to ask you a question. Tell me one problem you had 5 years ago.
It's hard to remember. You don't even think about it, right? It's probably I could tell you I was doing engineering 7 years ago, and I had some problems then. But nowadays, you don't even think about it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But at that time, I guarantee you 5 years ago, you had stuff going on in your day that were stressing you out and overtaking your day. And yet they were so meaningless, you can't even remember what they are 5 years ago, 5 years ago later.
Yeah, and in the moment, it's everything. It's like, everything. If I don't pass this exam, my life's over, right? But look 5 years ahead, you don't even think about it at all, right? Whether you passed or failed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just totally leaves your mind.
Yeah.
The only thing that anyone will ever bring up whenever I ask them that question, or if I go back 6 months or a year or whatever, the only time they'll ever be able to bring anything up is if someone in those most important thoughts was impacted. Like I lost a loved one,
person,
or I had a breakup in a relationship, or a friend ended up getting injured, or whatever the case. That's the only time anyone ever can bring up something that happened 5 years ago, as if it impacted those most important thoughts.
Yeah. It's like a loved one.
Yep. So don't let money or grades or your commitments or whatever take away from what's most important to your life. Simplify it and set that standard of what's success in your day.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. I mean, such a positive outlook on life and something you can use in your everyday. And I'll be using that. That's really powerful. Yeah.
Awesome. So it ultimately was the thoughts of my wife and my unborn child. They gave me the strength. I had to try again for them. So I rose up from my knees and I grabbed onto that screaming hot door handle and I gave that door everything I had. And that door opened. Now, what ended up happening was I didn't gain superhuman strength, although I am a religious person. And in my presentations, I'll say God gave me the strength. It's like, honestly, no, it's science. It's a completely scientific answer. It was a chemical I was pouring on the floor that was now evaporating and turning into fumes. It was a limited source. No one's adding more chemical to the fire. So in 20 seconds, which is what I figured the time it took for me to go to this point, in 20 seconds, those fumes were burning off, they were dissipating, which meant the pressure difference was also decreasing. And I now had the strength to open that door.
Okay. Yeah.
When the door opened, I could see sunshine. The overhead door to the garage wasn't installed yet, and I just leaped into the garage. When I did that, back then, the home builders had told us to throw all our garbage into the garage. So when I landed in that garage, this is all construction garbage. This is 2x4s and nails and screws and siding and shingles and all the flooring I just removed, soaked in the exact same chemical. And I'm on fire now. My body's physically burning. When I hit that garbage pile, I ignited the second fire.
Oh my gosh.
But I honestly didn't care. My escape was right there. I have a YouTube channel. It's mostly focused on safety awareness stuff. But I have in there one video, I call it the list of lasts. And this is when I realized, like I tell audience, that was the last time I could run. Last time I could interlock my fingers and make a fist. Last time I looked normal. Last time I felt normal. We've all made our lists of first. And a list of first is it's a fun list to make, right? Like first time I went on a date, or first time I kissed somebody, first time I got an A, first time I got a trophy, first time I drove a car, all these things are the first time. Those are exciting lists to make and they're fun lists to make. But if you get injured and your life changes really quick, you go through some kind of trauma, you get to make a different type of list. And it's the list of lasts. Last time my friend called me. Last time my spouse told me she loved me. Last time I had a spouse. Last time I could run. Last time I felt confident about myself. That's not a fun list to make. And it honestly is so easy to prevent that list. When you get those gut feelings, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, stop and assess what you're doing. It's not worth the risk. Because I can promise you, the amount you lose when things go wrong is just not worth making that list of lasts.